RH Jam, we'll take a look at flow, also known as being in the zone, the ways we tap it for our benefit, and how Reconnective Healing simplifies its access. Professional therapist, artist, and Reconnective Healing practitioner Katharina Seidler will share with us how she puts the power of flow to work for her and how Reconnective Healing has expanded her ability to connect with her passion. We'll also share with you an exclusive clip from our upcoming premiere this Saturday with Dr. Eric and Jillian, and a really important announcement about our RH, or Reconnective Healing, global gatherings on Zoom. All of this coming up in the RH Jam. And welcome back! If this is your first RH Jam, my name is Ana Clavell. I am your presenter, and this program is a weekly live event we do here on YouTube where we try to cover anything and everything that has to do with Reconnective Healing. Just so that you know, for those of you who may be new or just finding about Reconnective Healing, this is an energy-based approach to healing and inner transformation that can be learned by anyone and everyone and requires no steps to follow. And it is also scientifically validated. And for those of you who know a little bit more about Reconnective Healing, we all know that it also is a language, an energy language. But more about that in another RH Jam, and perhaps we can invite Dr. Eric and Jillian themselves to discuss with us what do we mean by language. Super exciting. And that's what is so important, that you guys subscribe to this channel. Subscribe, because that way you'll always know what is new, what is coming, what are we up to. Hey, that's what you'll know about this premiere on Saturday. In order to be able to attend the premiere, you need to RSVP again. And it really pays off to subscribe. I know a few people just actually send me notes thanking me for letting them know that by subscribing, you got to see the program when it became live. So, you know, and the one thing that I want to say is that besides liking our videos, share them, because not only are we helping other people understand Reconnective Healing, we are letting these frequencies expand. Because anybody who watches our videos, all of you who are with us live right now, and those who are watching the replay, you are already in this beautiful flow and interaction of the Reconnective Healing atmosphere. All these frequencies are here to touch and transform our lives. And I want to welcome everyone to the chat room. Lexi Alexandra, you rock, miss. We have here as well Momo Music. Well, hello. This is hello, Veronica. Of course. Abdullah, welcome back. And we also have Sally. Sally, so good to see you. And Soren, yay. So good to have you in the room. Hello and welcome, Anthony. All right, guys, we're going to be talking about flow. And flow, for those of you out there who are sports people, or you are artists, or you are in the type of tasks or passions that take you into that atmosphere, you probably will have a good grasp of what I'm talking about. For those of us who may find it that it's becoming more difficult, this might be a really good conversation about how do you find your own flow. So share with us here in the chat, how do you find your own sweet spot for flow? So without further ado, let's start our discussion for today. Let's talk about flow. That question is, how can I experience a state of flow? So as we were saying before, that state of flow that we're talking about is something that people refer to as well as being in the zone. It's that moment in which while you are doing something, you lose yourself in the task itself. And the doing becomes not difficult. It doesn't become an article of you having to think about what you need to do next. You are flowing. And in that flow, which is something that you tend to find with sports people, that's what I have this picture here. And you tend to find with people who are concentrating in creating something, a painter, a composer. Those are the ones we immediately associate with this flow, but truly is a state of an altered state of your mind, in which your mind stops actively telling you what to do. You just become one with whatever you're doing, and the two merge into something that creates what is called peak performance. Now, when we talk about these things, peak performance, flow, many of us, like I said, we associate these things with very specific things like music and composing and painting. And when you see a sports person about to do their next move, they are, if you ever seen basketball, not that I'm a basketball fan, but my significant other is a basketball fan, so I get to watch some of these games. I gotta tell you that it's impressive to see how the player becomes the ball, and the ball becomes the player, and the entire court becomes the player itself, and it becomes a reciprocal conversation, and you can truly feel this as they just look around and they feel where is it that they're going next. They do have a strategy, of course, but there's something else that takes over. And many people in the sports arena, in the arts arenas, they do talk about hitting that point of flow, in which they also feel that they're reaching that peak performance. But for those of us who are finding it a little bit difficult to find it now that our days are merging one into the other and remaining focused on any given task, maybe a little bit like, what's the point? Or my attention is elsewhere where I'm supposed to be doing this, because we're not finding that sweet spot that takes us into flow. Let's just remember that truly when we are children, when you look at children, their concept of flow is not like, oh, I have a task and I am going to set out to do this now. No, their attention leads them into the next thing that they're going to be doing, and they lose themselves in the play, in the discovery of it. There is no goal or no need to master any task, which is for us typically what happens to us when we are determining what is the next thing we're going to do. We are going to accomplish something. We have a goal to accomplish. For a child, and we have a beautiful segment in the portal, by the way, for those of you who have seen it, you know the one I'm talking about, Beyond Perception. And for those who you haven't seen or haven't subscribed to the portal, I'll have more information about it later. But there's a beautiful animated segment in which we discovered that with children, they follow their instinct for play. And they follow their attention. There's no goal setting. So, when we fall out of that and we get into the whole mindset of goal and completing things, it actually just takes us into a state of perhaps even having to set things in a specific way so we fall into this flow. And it has happened to me. I still write. I'm a professional writer, but when I used to write a lot of scripts, in order for me to be able to get into that writing mentality, I would have to have my laptop in a certain way. I would have to have my pad of notes right here in this angle. I would have to have 5 or 6 beautiful pens. I didn't even use the pens, but I needed to see them for them to tell myself that I was ready to go into the flow of writing, right? This I found, now that Reconnective Healing is definitely transformed how I enter easily and effortlessly into flow. It's transforming because now I can see how that had become in so many ways a wall for letting true flow come through, the true inspiration. I needed these things. It's pretty much like when we talk about healing objects, that we need to put our attention on an external thing to give us permission to be all that we are. And you know what, guys? There's another thing that I wanted to mention, because this is also true about flow. There is an addiction to it. There is an addiction to it. The people who love speed, the people who are race car drivers, the people who are into extreme sports, they discovered that, being in that zone, in that flow is so exhilarating. You become one with the car, with the steering wheel, with the road, with the curve. Everything becomes so clear. You truly touch the everything. And yeah, that's an exhilarating form of flow that you can see with this type of extreme sports or extreme pursuits and goals, right? But you know what? The one that gets us on the fight and flight mode, which is also gets you into the flow of how do we get out of a building that is on fire? Suddenly your entire instinct takes over and puts you in a flow of getting you out of it. It overrides all systems and takes you through it. Well, that type of flow, actually, you end up feeling depleted afterwards. You don't feel you feel tired, exhausted, sad, depressed, angry. It brings in you all sorts of emotions that actually contradict the purely exhilarating exuberance of being in flow. And that is something that, hands down, Reconnective Healing definitely offers from the get-go. I mean, flow in Reconnective Healing is just as simply as becoming aware of the frequencies themselves. It is that simple, you know? It's when you notice this experience of Reconnective Healing, when you observe this awareness, we actually start accessing this ultimate state of flow. The awareness of Reconnective Healing, or Omni as I call it, or what people know as omniscience, where all possibilities are present for you, and in a way in which you are one with all of these. And Katharina Seidler has an amazing story of her own discovery of this flow because of Reconnective Healing, and she'll be joining us in a few minutes. But first, I want to share with you the premiere for this Saturday, which is an in-depth conversation between Dr. Eric and Jillian, an interviewer, on the subject of Reconnective Healing and trauma. And this is a very important interview, and I really invite you for this Saturday, and I'll send information. I'll give you instructions on how to sign up for it. I have a promo for you. I hope you like it.
Yes, because I liked your question before about how much reconnective healing is required for trauma to dissolve. And really, it's not like there's a formula you can say, you know, three visits or 3 sessions. Mm-hmm. It is when we allow ourselves to receive it. It's just in that moment, because healing, being outside of time and space, doesn't require a certain number of sessions, a certain amount that you can measure by the teaspoon or the tablespoon, or a certain number of dates. It's just, at what point do we find that something inside of us has awakened to get this? It's just like when we do talk about, you know, when you spoke earlier about how do you manage the effects of trauma that Jillian was referencing your question on, it's, I don't believe we manage it, you see. I don't believe it's about managing the effects of it as much as
And this is a topic that you guys sent us in. You've asked us several times about trauma, and we've covered it here on the RH Jam. And that inspired Dr. Eric and Jillian to take it up onto themselves to also talk about this topic. You know, because trauma, we know, manifests in so many ways. And for all of us who are in the Reconnective Healing family, we have a sense of how Reconnective Healing really helps us pull through, or in many cases simply dissolves it. But for those people out there who may not even consider Reconnective Healing as an option, I hope this interview opens more eyes and hearts. And guys, for this interview this Saturday, I gotta tell you, it's an RSVP, and I'll explain a little bit more when we get to our premiere board. Let's welcome over here Emily as well. I noticed she joined, and I see VS, and I see Enrico. Welcome, you guys. Please remember, we really want to see your shares on how flow comes into your life. How does it manifest via Reconnective Healing? Okay, guys, as I promised, I want to introduce you all to the amazing Katharina Seidler. Hello, Katharina. How are you?
Hi, Anna. I'm great. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for accepting. I know you're super busy. For those of you guys who are not part of our German community, Katharina co-hosted with Dr. Eric and Jillian our global Reconnective Healing Zoom meetings. And she did an amazing job. And I know she has plenty of new projects coming up, but we're going to ask her about that in a little bit. Katharina, Tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about your life and reconnective healing coming into your life.
Well, first I want to say that I loved your introduction to flow, and it actually put me into this place of flow because it flooded me with all these positive memories of moments and of situations where I got to experience flow. In fact, you talked about peak performance coming from flow, and this is something that I worked with in my previous life before Reconnective Healing. As a psychologist, I worked a lot with performers with this idea how they can reach their audience. And it has a lot to do with flow and with being. Flow actually is very related to love, being in a state of love, in an energy of love. And that's a place where we can connect really easily. So just for a few facts, I studied psychology. I'm German. I've been living in Spain for 14 years now, and I'm about to move back to Germany. I've worked for 12 years self-employed as a therapist or coach, both. And so 2 years ago, a little more than 2 years ago, Reconnective Healing came into my life at a moment of difficulty and crisis in my life. I was just in the middle of a divorce. My son was about 3-4 years old, and he has this genetic condition that we still didn't have a diagnosis. So it was a very difficult time, and I was fighting everywhere. There was not a lot of flow and a lot of exhaustion. So I watched this little video from a summit of Dr. Eric Pearl and Jillian presenting Reconnective Healing. I didn't think much of it, but it wouldn't let me let it go. I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I looked it up, and I knew right away I have to do the personal reconnection. And then things just came step by step. So I moved deeper into this, and I was almost obsessed with it because I felt there's something so real and so alleviating, so direct that we get to experience with Reconnective Healing. So when we talk about flow, I want to go back a tiny bit and tell you about my story of flow, so to say, and my discoveries about it. I always, in my childhood already, I experienced these states of flow, mostly related with music, singing in a choir, playing the violin in an orchestra, playing the piano, a lot of musical activities, and nature. I did some art, I did some painting, but it wasn't really, I actually got a lot of recognition as a child for it, but I didn't continue doing it until much later. And so in 2008, I worked as a psychologist. I didn't have a child yet. I had just moved to Spain and started working self-employed. And I experienced these really high states of consciousness where your mind goes silent. You are everything. There is no ego. There's no person. There's just pure awareness. And it's hard to describe these states because there aren't any words that can express this. But let's go with these words of connection and peace and mindlessness, really, in a way. And so I wanted to learn. What had happened to me when I was in these states for a few days, sometimes for weeks, and then obviously nobody lives in these states all the time. So I went down back to normal, and I wanted to understand what had happened and how to access this. And this is kind of the same thing you mentioned, Anna, with how addictive it can be to get into flow. And that's when I got into the whole field of energy psychology. And I learned about the levels of consciousness and how they're related with energy. And this is related to flow because we can't experience flow when we're depressed or when we're really anxious. There isn't a lot of flow about the things that happen. So it somehow has to do with being in quite a high consciousness state. I think it's related with love or even higher consciousness states. When I speak of these levels, there's a a model behind. It's the chart of the levels of consciousness by David R. Hawkins. I studied his works for a long time. He was a psychiatrist and spiritual teacher. And during this time, I was obsessed with wanting to become enlightened. That was my number one goal in life. And so I learned kinesiology, different methods, and everything I discovered, I used for my clients. And so a lot of these, like the thing that I already learned back then was that suffering can disappear, like negativity can disappear from our bodies, from our emotional experience, from our minds, when we open up and we just experience it, when we stop resisting it and trying to avoid it, which is the natural thing we want to do. We feel something, a person that we don't feel good with, we avoid the person. And so I spent many years trying to figure out, how can I get into a higher consciousness state? How can I become enlightened? How can I be in the flow? And there was a time in my life when I thought, when I just thought, I always want to be experiencing love. And what's important to understand is that the energy level, the consciousness level that we experience has so much to do with the kind of thoughts that we have, the possibilities that we find, the way we perceive life, the way things feel in our body. So the higher the energy, the more positive all of this gets, inside and out. And maybe you notice this in yourself when you hear this, that it's quite easy to think, well, it's so much better to be in a state of love and flow than it is to be in fear. So our mind just goes to this judgment, to this linear perception or description that the higher the consciousness level, the better. And then it's so easy to say, well, if people are negative, I don't want to be with them. Or if I'm in a situation that is negative, I don't want that for myself. And so I ended up actually like pulling back in many ways and separating, isolating myself and searching for this higher place of flow, of connectedness, and how to be there. And I actually lived for a few years in these really high consciousness states. But I still always had this model of, when something negative comes up, it has to be transformed. I have to transform it. I have to do the work. I have to let go of the negative belief. I have to release the negative emotion. And so it was always work until the time when Reconnective Healing came into my life. And it did something. The interaction with these frequencies for me was very tangible, very easy, very quickly. I felt this in my hands, in my body. I saw it. There was a light that kept coming on in my bedroom. I knew this is very, very real. And I knew this has something in it for me, that where I have to go. I have to be that, become that. I have to live that all the time. And the thing that became different is that the more I got into this, I realized that I already am whole. And this is actually, it's so interesting because Dr. Hawkins teaches this. When he speaks about the scale, he says, well, it's not a linear scale, it's logarithmic. No one state is better than any other. But I wasn't able to perceive this. I wasn't able to understand this. And with Reconnective Healing, really all we do is we feel the frequencies, we focus our awareness on the here and now, on observing, noticing, and the frequencies, they do something that goes beyond just putting my perception on this current moment. Because we experience the frequencies in this moment and they reach for us, they for me, they pull me in and they let me experience a higher consciousness state or a higher energy very quickly without actually having done any work. It's an immediate access to some qualities, maybe not for everyone right away to a high consciousness state, but to some qualities that we only normally experience in higher consciousness states. Jillian and Eric, they often speak about this, it bypasses the mind. And I understood this in this reflection about flow, that we're so aware of these sensations and the things that we experience in this moment with these frequencies, that thoughts disappear. That we don't, because if you only observe, then there can be no judgment. Judgment is a thought about what I feel. And so I can observe the thought, and something in me removes from it and moves into, I think Jillian calls it awareness. Awareness for me, it's presence. This very calm place where it's actually almost, the sensation is like an energy flowing in and some kind of peace spreading, calmness coming. And so that's where it's, for me, it's a very easy access to flow, because in that moment I'm one with everything I perceive. And so I'm just gonna keep talking. You interrupt me if you.
No, I didn't want to, because you were. I am enthralled as you're describing the process so beautifully that I think you make such a beautiful comparative between the high amount of work you have to do to maintain flow or to achieve flow versus the ease. The effortless way in which Reconnective Healing it's there. It's there. It's the atmosphere. You become the atmosphere in Reconnective Healing. Let me ask you, Katharina, when you look at what has happened since you have discovered that flow is this easy, right? What has been your most significant discovery about yourself, your talents, your life path since Reconnective Healing show you this different state of flow?
There's so many discoveries. I think the biggest change since Reconnective Healing is that I perceive a constant peace in myself. Like, no matter what happens, I can always remove from the experience and step into that calmness. And then maybe I can still be anxious or still be nervous about something, but at the same time, I feel this peace. And this started with the personal reconnection. And every time I went deeper, it just got stronger. And so in terms of flow, I realized also that it flows where it wants to flow. It didn't flow where I wanted it to flow. What I really wanted after the catalyst is spread this work, reach many people, create a lot of healing together with my clients and do lots of sessions. And that did not happen. And instead, I started painting and creating art. And the first 2 months, I could not stop doing this. I was obsessed with it. I couldn't stop doing it because it was the way I could be in this state of connectedness and flow all the time. And I needed to get it out. Like, I was in that state. I didn't even need to access it. I was in that state and it wanted out. And it came out in me creating art. And then there were such positive reactions to this. So the sessions didn't really come, and I didn't understand why, because it was all so amazing and the marketing was already built up. So there wasn't a rational reason. But I started selling my paintings and easily, not without telling anyone I want to sell. Well, I just told my sister, and then she said, oh, my friend so-and-so wants to buy this. Or my mother said, oh, my friend so-and-so, they want you to create some artwork for their doctor's office. So this just started moving. And so now when I think about flow, it's still, for me, I think flow happens when we access higher states of consciousness. And with the Reconnective Healing frequencies, it's just much easier. We don't have to do the work of removing, releasing, overcoming. We can have this direct access to just being. And the more we allow for this, the deeper this calmness gets and this connectedness gets, and it creates by itself. It's really that it creates and you just do it. So sometimes this happens when I write, also when I create a video. I start and I have an idea, and then it just, you notice now I'm in the flow. It's talking. So
Jillian says here, hello, Jillian. We've got Jillian Fleur in the house, guys. Yay! Let's do the wave. Jillian says, truth. It knows more than our want. Exactly what you're describing is that you're no longer, it's not the flow that you want, and it's not perhaps the direction you wanted to go. It just shows you the one that needs to be in place. And perhaps, I'm going to go on a limb here. That is that's why the word of mouth is so catching on fire. Like, people just want to see these paintings and get closer to what it's coming through in your flow. We want to welcome as well. We have here Nadia Van Ram. Hello, Nadia. Coco, great comments, Coco. Welcome to the club, tribe. Veronica says, I love that you share this, my dear. I love this process and the realizations that have come with Reconnective Healing. I'm totally with you. Let me ask you, Katharina, when we're talking about when you said that you left the training and you just wanted to go out there and heal people after the catalyst and just change the world that way. And then you discover Reconnective Healing, that these frequencies, the intelligence that guides them, there's something else. There's much more besides our wants, right? When you started your journey with Reconnective Healing, how did the portal help you perhaps experience help you experience this flow?
Well, I did the portal quite quickly after I had my personal reconnection, and for me, it was the same thing. I was just so drawn to going deeper and really like wanting to feel this, wanting to be this, and I was mind blown by the fact that some pre-recorded videos could make me feel and explore and learn so much. For me personally, I loved the exercises. I liked the science. It was good to have like an overview. I loved the parts about Solomon Speaks. They just spoke to my heart, and it was something I could come back to. I didn't do it all. I did maybe a whole weekend. I went back to parts. I repeated the exercises, and then in the weeks after, I just kept going to these little pieces, and it was just like I found exactly what I needed that day to grow a little more and to make the next step. And I find it a really great course, and it just helped me to take the step to get in deeper. And for me, it's amazing how that can happen online, how it can be transmitted online, how you can be. It was just like being there with Eric and Jillian, and that was amazing.
Yeah, that was a big discovery for all of us too, and we felt it. We were inspired in the frequencies, and we talked about it in our last jam as well, in our version in Espanol, precisely about how the portal really just constructed itself. It built itself. And it came in that flow. The whole thing was built in the flow of Reconnective Healing, which made it so much more effortless that if I had tried to build it as a film producer or film editor, this just took care of itself. Every piece fell into place. And I know we've shared that a little bit when you talked to me about your projects, how when you're going to get, for example, to start to shoot a video or start to create something, things just fall in place for you. You don't need to be searching for the next thing, the next word, or the next color. It just presents itself. So tell us, we talked a little bit about your painting. Tell us about what else is in store for you. What else are you working on, Katharina?
Well, first, I'm about to move back to Germany. And so I'm moving into the German Reconnective Healing community, or at least I want to be a part of it, and I want to share there. And so for me, it's really important to bring people together and to create the possibility of mirroring this back to each other. Because I don't know if you have this experience, Anna, but it happens to me so often when I'm with somebody who is also a practitioner. it's like you recognize yourself in them. There's this light that you can see in their eyes, and this knowingness, this excitement. And I obviously want to experience that where I want to live. So I'm just trying to figure out, I plan on offering a Zoom meditation monthly meeting where people can just come together, share, ask questions. I just want to bring my light there and share it with the people that are on the same path. So that's really important for me. And then other projects, I'm actually going to start working as a psychologist again in a part-time job. And I never thought I would say this until December last year. In any crisis I had in my self-employed business, I always said, I'm never going to stop doing this. I need to do this now. And I really swear the frequencies bring this to me and brought this to me. Now I'm going to work as a psychologist in a setting that's with handicapped people. That means it's more a traditional setting. And I'm so curious about finding out how the frequencies are going to show up there and how they're going to guide, and how I'm already thinking about how can I do reconnective healing, maybe without, obviously, I don't even need to do it. I am it. But I know that it will shift things and change things and create something good. And I'm really happy to be able to do this. And then I'm also preparing an exhibition for my artwork, which I don't know when it will happen, but I think in the probably second half of this year, when we're all leaving our houses again and be more social. So those are the things that really excite me. And other than that, my energy is also with my son, experiencing the frequencies with him, seeing how this can help him, how it can help us, how it can help me as a mother. And there has been so much change in this area also. So those are the things that are on my mind and on the horizon for me.
You have a busy, busy plate, let me tell you. And guys, you heard it from Katharina. There is this beautiful plan to start this amazing monthly gatherings on Zoom with a German community. I've put her information here, and all you need to do is click on that link and just talk to Katharina. Reach out to her, connect with her, because if this is something that is inspiring you as well, guys, don't even second guess it. That's inspiration that comes in the flow of Reconnective Healing. Answer that call, right? It always leads you to where you need to be. Sorry, my dear, you were saying?
No, I just want to say, I don't want to do this alone. I mean, a community is about sharing and doing things together. So for me, it's just the deep wish of creating connection. And this is really strange from a person that 2 years ago was isolating herself from the negativity around. Now I'm all about connection. I'm all about community. And actually, Emily is here today also. You mentioned her in the chat. She was the one who always said, you need a community. You need to go out there. And now this is just coming and happening. And I didn't even really do anything. It's a need that the frequencies bring out and direct.
We are discovering, and we discover every day, that when we are in answering the needs of these frequencies, as opposed to impose our wants, life flows so much easier, guys. It really does. And I just want to say hello here again to Emily. Hello, Emily, again. She says, love you, Kat. So brave in the way you share your journey. Yes, and also inspirational. Coco says, that's outstanding. I was a teacher and returned to the classroom as substitute music teacher for first and second graders. Talk about a profound difference in what I taught after working with these frequencies. It's going to be very intriguing for us to find out how, when you go back in an environment, it is going to be very interesting for you, right? How the reconnective healing frequencies come into play. You have to keep us updated, Katharina. And I hope you'll come back to the show to share with us when you're ready to launch the meetings and you have your exhibit with all your paintings. We want to see pictures, okay?
All right.
Do you have anything
in here? You know that, so you're gonna see me again. I'm quite sure.
Oh, I know I'm gonna see you again. Hint, hint. Anything that you want to share with our group here and with the people who will be watching the replay? Because we are rounding up beyond the hour.
For me, it's just I'm really discovering every day the beauty of these frequencies. And I know many of you are practitioners yourself. I think this is the moment to give this as much space as we can, because it really carries us, it connects us, it heals us, it lets us be from a place of flow, of peace, of knowingness that we're okay. And I think that's really important in these times. So I'm just really happy that you guys are here, that we're sharing this journey. And I hope that some people that see this, they might be inspired and just say, okay, I'm going to check out this portal, and maybe I'm going to just buy the book and the Reconnection, Heal Others, Heal Yourself, and see if this might be something that calls me.
You know, and upon that note, if you don't have access to the book, please remember, I've put in the description here, there is a link. It's a gift from the Reconnection. Get the audiobook. It's right here. The audio narration by Dr. Eric is one of the beautiful gifts that Reconnection had, just like the first hour of the portal. We cannot speak highly enough about this online course. It's just so timely that it is ready for the world, to receive the world, to do the portal, right? Katharina, we are honored to have you here and be part of the Reconnective Healing family. Thank you so much. And again, I'm going to hold you to your promise. You'll have to come back on this show.
Yes. Well, it seems I don't shut up. The frequencies make me talk, so here we are talking.
You go, girl! Mwah! Love you, Katharina.
Thank you, guys. It was great being with you.
All right, come on. Wasn't that amazing? I'm fairly certain that from what I'm hearing and seeing here, that a lot of you, and I'm looking at our chat here, you felt reflected in her words as well, in her own discovery. And it's so important that we address that there was a point in which we really had to work to get in that zone, and how easy it is by just being in the flow of reconnective healing. And we're going to have something to break down what that looks like for those of you who have only just started to understand reconnective healing or are feeling called to learn more about reconnective healing. But first, I want to greet everybody else here in the room, because Soren wants to remind us that he loves us today. Soren, you love us every day, and we love you back. It's so good to have you here. And Jillian says, love your smile. Yes, Jillian loves Katharina's smile, and what's not to love there. And I gotta tell you guys, you guys in the chat, you make this program possible. You make the entire YouTube channel possible. And I want to encourage you, if you have a story that you love to share with people right here on the jam, just drop me an email. Just send me a comment. I love your suggestions. I love your questions. But you know what? If you're inspired like Katharina was, to come on the show and share your story, please answer the call of the frequencies. Be in the flow of reconnective healing. Guys, we have a couple of busy moments this week. Let's see. We have this weekend. We have yoga. Our courses are rounding up. We have this one, I believe this is our last. This is going to be our third. This is our third yoga class. This Saturday on 9 a.m. with our amazing Kelly Woodruff. And guys, we got to convince him that he makes it into a permanent feature, that he can offer this throughout the year, because truly is, wow, what a great class. And right after that, we have a premiere, that interview with Dr. Eric and Jillian. We're going to be discussing with them trauma. We're going to discuss reconnective healing and trauma. And I'm saying we, because although it's a recorded interview, we're going to be chatting along as we are watching this interview. And it's so important that we all participate, because I know this topic is so core to so many of us. Some of us have carried this crosses, so to speak, our entire lives, and some of us are encountering new ones, manifesting perhaps as insomnia, as the anxiety that these times are bringing into our lives. Those could become traumatic events. So it's a really good interview that just gets us so much clarity about the role of reconnective healing when it comes to trauma. And then next Wednesday is a busy day too. We have our third Solomon study group. And then we have as well a very special Reconnective Healing Global gathering. This is the Oceania gathering, but everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome. It's at 3 p.m. As with everything else, I've put all these links here in our description so you can come and join. But for that premiere on Saturday, let me remind you, that premiere, that interview, send me an email so I can send you then an RSVP link for us to get to send you the actual link to the interview on this Saturday. Or subscribe to this channel. You know that it's going to be at 10:30 a.m. So you can just be waiting for it right there with your cup of coffee ready to go. Or, after drinking maybe a power drink after your yoga session with Kelly, then run in and join us in the YouTube room. All right? So I want to check out what people are saying here. Yoga vs. Go Kelly, best yoga. Yes, it is. Jillian, I know you're a big fan of that yoga program. I see you there every Saturday. And we have ESS daily. We are understanding the reconnective healing. Yes, we are. It's a daily interaction with these frequencies. It is called what we call living in the frequencies of reconnective healing. And, we are not going to round up this program properly if I didn't share with you what I mentioned before. Because reconnective healing, the flow, the state of flow that comes through reconnective healing can be experienced by anyone, by just being in these frequencies. So it's not like it's divided into steps, but if we have to sum up how it happens, okay, it would look perhaps like this. So you may want to start by placing your attention on the reconnective healing frequencies. And you could be doing any task, even watching this video right now, right here where we're doing it live, or at home when you're doing or when you're watching the replay, or maybe you are just playing with your, washing your dishes. I don't know, something simple. And as you allow for these frequencies to expand, you're observing them, noticing, you experience them. What are you noticing? What are you observing? What are you experiencing? And notice that if you're doing another task, like maybe you are doing dishes, or you are ironing, or you are walking the dog, you don't need to disconnect from that. You're still in that moment too. They're not, one thing does not take you from the other. It just expands your ability to perceive more. And when you are in that point, this is when you allow that energy, light, and information to pour into your consciousness, that higher consciousness, higher state of consciousness that Katharina was talking about. It is when you're here and you're walking the dog or you're doing the dishes, that flow just is. And that oneness with the whatever you are, presence, the here now, as Dr. Eric and Jillian call it. It's that awareness that allows you to see and perceive and know yourself, that you are one. You're not only one, though, with the tasks that you're involved with. You're one with everything, because this awareness is actually touching your omniscience, what I call omnia, that omniscience that is all that is. And the portal from the get-go was designed to help break down any perceived limitations that you have about yourself and your abilities to perceive your reality. It helps you move from that 4D experience that we have on a daily basis, and moves you into your multidimensional self. It allows you to touch it. And when you recognize yourself as being infinite, which is through that awareness, that access gives you that point of connection, which is ultimately something that we need to have a great conversation on. And I'm inviting Jillian. Maybe we can have a program just about connection. It is there that when you know you're an infinite being, this ability to be in instant flow, to be omniscient, is no longer an impossibility. And I know, Reconnective Healing family, we have touched this. We are it. And guys, we are completing the program. And I cannot tell you enough about how amazing it has been to have Katharina Seidler on the program today. But I also want to give kudos to Cecilia Sams and to Lexi Alexandra, because their support, their weekly support, makes this chat rock. You guys are on fire, and I thank you so much for being part of this amazing fam or tribe. I see that it's being called a tribe today. I so love it. Lexi says, expand and allow the energy, light, and information by receiving. It's that simple. We don't need to work at being at a flow. We just receive. And in receiving, we are in that flow. And indeed, we are the flow itself. That first hour of the portal is the gift from the reconnection to the world. Guys, copy that link, send it down your list, let other people benefit. Let them be able to discover this state of flow, reconnective healing, because things that are beyond our capabilities to imagine ourselves and others take place when we are in that reconnective healing flow. And again, we'll be back next week. But before then, I expect to see you this Saturday. Not that we should have expectations, but maybe a little one. That you're going to join us for the Yoga with Kelly. You're going to join us at that premiere on Saturday. That interview with Dr. Eric and Jillian on trauma. And again, send me an email so I can send you the RSVP link. Or what's the next thing we could do? We could subscribe to this channel and then we'll know. You'll just parking yourself in the channel at 10:25 and boom, it'll come live for you as well. And then on Wednesday, Solomon Study Group, we have, it's finalized, and guys, it's only 4 weeks, and I believe next week is the last week for Solomon. But I hear there may be a bonus study day. I don't know, they'll have to confirm. They'll let us know, right? And then let's gather again live with Dr. Eric and Jillian on Wednesday at 3 p.m. for our global gathering. And then until next week, next Thursday at the same time, I hope you have a beautiful week. And know that we are always connected in frequencies. This isolation, it's also an illusion. We are always connected. I love you so much. Have a beautiful week. This is Ana Clavell with the RH Jam.